The problem with this fentanyl issue is that it makes every drug you do completely poison. I mean,
It's like
even
1,000 times stronger than anything that we've seen in the last 100 years.
yeah. So I think this is going to change the game if it keeps going at this rate. I mean, it's got to bring more awareness to it because it's going to affect everybody.
Hello, welcome to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 110.
Wow.
Tonight we are recording, of course, live from Patriots, at least I am. And I'm trying not to say so let's just go right to Desiree and let her start the show.
Oh, I feel the pressure. I wasn't expecting it so soon. Well, welcome everyone. If you haven't already subscribed, all the bots out there, subscribe and then always hit the like button because you like us a lot and you can show us by hitting the like button. All right, tonight we are going to be talking about fentanyl and the obvious fentanyl crisis that we're in. In the last few days, I'm sure you guys know, but there has been some talks on some triggers for a war with China. And fentanyl happens to be one of the reasons for that. So I thought it was a good topic, and it's a good topic anyway. What do you guys have any experience with fentanyl, or know anything about fentanyl, or like what's going on? Or
it's an opioid, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a right, yeah. That's what I know. I'm done.
Okay.
I don't think anybody here has used it. If
No,
that's what you
I'm not asking if you've used it, but like, like what
I've been trying to score some to prep for the show, but it's hard. It's hard to come by.
It's not hard to come by. You're just not going to the right places.
When you're in a new tax bracket.
Well, I do have a question. Since we have two nurses, right at the beginning of the show, can we get? Do either of you know like how this thing works? I mean, obviously it's an opioid, but like,
I got a slideshow, Mike. Did you think I wouldn't?
Oh,
come on now!
Well,
yeah, I figured you did, Desiree.
That's fantastic. Because I think we should educate our viewer to like what fentanyl is. And
well, I think she's going to surprise you with some knowledge because she gave me a knowledge.
All right.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised.
So do you want to just jump into the slideshow?
Let's just go.
Okay, let me pull it up.
Yeah, let's be rash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Oh, how do I go back?
Answer pain. All right.
Oh, see?
No, it's great. Take your time.
There you go.
Okay, there I am. Don't click any buttons. Okay, so fentanyl.
I can't see all the words.
Okay, I'll wait.
Fentanyl. I thought it was fentanyl. Okay. So spelling it, we got that down.
Are you guys good? Can you see the words?
I thought it was PH.
That's phentermine. Okay, anyway, so what fentanyl has been like super big lately, and that's a different fentanyl really than we use in medicine. So fentanyl was created back in the 1950s, 1960s, or some say cancer pain, some say implementation into anesthesia. It is a synthetic opioid. So, that means created in a lab, right? That's going to be very, very important in a little bit. Most opioids come from the poppy plant, poppies. You have to grow them, and they have to flower, and then they have to have their buds fall off, and then you have to dry the pod, and then you have to. So it's a process. But if you can just synthesize this in a lab, that's much quicker, right? Right. Yeah. It's 100 times stronger than morphine. Obviously, that's why we use it in surgery and cancer pain. It comes normally in IV doses, IV bags, IV pushes. They have patches. And then there's a nasal spray that they came out with that a lot of people were overdosing in like the second wave of this whole thing.
Wow.
And then we dose it in micrograms, which also is going to be important a little bit because you've heard, I'm sure, a lot about milligrams.
Yeah. Can you define what a microgram is?
A microgram is 1,000 times micro.
Smaller than
a gram.
Or I thought
you have your micrograms. So you have your nanograms, your micrograms, your grams.
Yeah.
kilograms.
So just the one thing I do know, because I looked this up, is a fatal dose of fentanyl would be 2 milligrams.
Yeah, so that would be 2,000 micrograms.
Jeez. All right. So it's dosed in micrograms. All right. I've never even heard of micrograms, but
Right, so when we dose it, so
really small.
for an example of like how much we usually give to patients, and so you can compare that to milligrams. So we like if you get into a car wreck or something and you're like femur is popped out your leg, and EMS comes and they are like, oh my gosh, we need to give you something fast because this is fast. It does not last very long, but it's very fast. It knocks pain out very quickly. They will give you 125 mics of fentanyl. Push.
It doesn't last long. How long is the half-life?
Half-life is about an hour, 4 hours.
So
that's
a tenth
That
of
really
a
is.
milligram. That's a tenth of a milligram, correct?
Yeah. And a half-life, so you guys understand, half-life is when it starts, that's like the peak and when it starts to go down.
In practice, it's about an hour, but they say it's maybe 4 hours is the max half-life, but it's about an hour. So 125 micrograms, which would be 0.12 or I don't know.
Milligrams.
It does. And I might be jumping ahead, so you can disregard. But so when they said like that, and when they send over like a bottle of the pills, and like 4 out of every 10 was enough to overdose on. So how much is in each pill? So that would be 2,000.
So we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, more than 2
you're
milligrams.
going to that? Okay.
So basically, just to jump in real quick, for our viewer, so a fatal dose is about 16 times more than a therapeutic dose, ish.
Well, the visual that
for a naive person, that's where it gets a little bit difficult when you're talking about opioids, because if you have a tolerance, you could probably give you about 500 mics and you're fine. I have people, when I use it, we don't usually give fentanyl pushes, but we do fentanyl drips. And usually it's reserved. It's always reserved for somebody on a ventilator, and they're usually we give them like fentanyl and propofol simultaneously. And our max dose on that is 400 mics an hour. And if someone's on that dose, they could still be acting a fool.
And propofol, so you guys know, Desiree enlightened me to this. Propofol is what Michael Jackson went down on.
It's a sedative.
That's just another opioid. Is it an opioid?
No, it's its own thing. It's a I don't know what it's called. It's a sedative basically, but it's a sleepy sedative. It's not really like a tranquilizer, but
there's a visual that I always saw where they show a penny and they say that like 1/64th of a penny of pure fentanyl would like kill you. Is that accurate?
The amount of Lincoln's ear is what they say.
Yeah.
Kill you.
Crazy.
Again, it has to do with
tolerance.
Your tolerance. And I think when they say that much, when you see all the videos of, and we'll get to this, the videos of people touching it and they die, or the cops that have to like revive their officer friend because they touched the fentanyl.
Yeah.
That's something actually called carfentanil, and that's different, but it's much more powerful.
Yeah, this is
so anyway, that's how we do it in medicine. So
interesting.
You can see how obviously the deaths, this is just all overdose deaths, any drug, have skyrocketed over the years. The last data was 2021. And I'm pretty sure that and it's really hard to look up like deaths in 2022 from drug overdoses, because no matter where you look, it's going to give you a different source, or it's going to give you a different number. Some of them combine numbers. Some of them are like, oh, it was a 75% increase from the last year. It's really hard to find. But this is maybe the best.
But that's a 500% increase from 2000.
Well, I
find over 500% to 21.
I find it interesting that it ramped up right around 2019 when people were stuck at home, and
we're gonna actually the fentanyl deaths had a small decrease in 2019. We'll also talk
probably because they weren't going out.
So this is all drugs.
Okay.
This is just fentanyl.
Jesus
Christ. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this looks like a problem.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think we got to get some people on this.
The last
Yeah.
year is 2021 here. So, and actually, I think the numbers, some say 80,000 was just fentanyl alone.
I've heard
Um,
over 100, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've
There's
heard
no-
that too much.
I don't
Now,
have
is
any
it like
sightings for
COVID
that.
where it's people died with fentanyl?
Oh,
Um,
jeez, man.
Well, yeah, actually, there is something about. So remember how this last one was, all drugs? Uh-oh. I don't know what I did.
It's all right.
Just clicked back.
God,
So
Des.
this one was all drugs,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and this
Okay.
is just fentanyl.
Wow.
Just astounding.
As we will see, fentanyl has now been found in every drug out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it is not testable. Fentanyl does not show up in a standard urine drug screen. Sometimes not even in a toxicology screening until up to 24 to 72 hours later. If you die 5 minutes after you ingest this, are you going to have it in your urine or your toxicology screen? You're not. So how can they really say that they know that, you know, there was maybe 20,000 deaths just methamphetamines or just cocaine or just, you know, you really can't because it's in everything.
Wow.
And if I may, Des, from our aspect, yours and mine, when a patient comes into the hospital, especially in psych, there's always a UDS, which is
Yeah.
a urine
drug screen.
And there's lots of things that don't show up. PCP, I think they recently, now they can show it, but like Delta 8 and K2 and Spice, there's a lot of drugs that don't show up in that UDS.
And
so
sometimes, and even if they do, there's gonna be a delay.
yeah.
So
yeah.
if somebody, with what they're saying in the news, and I'm not saying they're wrong, they're very right. Is if somebody ingests this, you go down, and it's like you ingest it and you smoke it, you shoot it up, you're gone within 10 minutes, you're down. Quicker than that. Some say that people have died with the foil still smoking with their needles in their arms, so it's very fast.
Wow.
And so if you go into the hospital, you know, you're found down or whatever, and they, you know, they're not. Let's just say they're positive for cocaine because they've been using cocaine. Okay, well, that symptom does not match what's going on. You are not going to be laid out and haven't breathed in 10 minutes from a cocaine overdose.
Fentanyl users,
but a lot of times, when medicine, like if you go to the ER, it's really hard to say that something is what the labs are saying it's not. So it does make it harder in medicine and to treat, in like the ERs, to treat these fentanyl overdoses, because sometimes in places that aren't really experienced with this, they don't know what it is, and they think it's one thing when it's totally another, and they're not going to put them on a Narcan drip, or they're not going to be able to treat them, you know, going forward. So
just a quick question:
Narcan work with this?
Yeah, Narcan works. Extra Narcan. Narcan comes in like a 0.4 milligram dose. Sometimes it's been reported up to 6 to 8 milligrams is used to stop fentanyl. So that's
quick question,
doses.
just because I want to be the
Narcan.
voice of the people that have no idea about anything about this. So how does it kill? Does it suppress breathing?
So well, that's on here, but I will explain it. So you have these things called mu receptors in your brain. A mu receptor is what the opiate binds to. Opioids they tend to, depending on the strength of them. So this particular one is 100 times stronger than morphine. The more and more you get, the more and more your respiratory drive is suppressed. So yes. So the more they attach all there, and if it's super strong, you're gonna breathe like 1 to 2 times a minute.
Oh, geez.
Until you just don't. And that's how people die.
So that's the mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal, man.
All right. Sorry for interrupting, but
you're good. So, okay. We all kind of know about the opioid crisis, how it started. Now it's what's known as like the first wave of the opioid crisis. Oxycontin hit the market in 1996 by Purdue Pharma. When they rolled their product out, they were very, very, very aggressive in the marketing practice. Did you guys happen to watch Dopesick at all?
No, I'm gonna watch it though.
Okay, so this Dopesick is about this, and it's very good. It has Michael Crichton in it.
Right?
or Michael Keaton.
Keaton.
One of those
Michael
people.
Crichton's
I don't
an
know.
author.
Okay, Michael Keaton. So their marketing practices were very, very, very aggressive. They were going to medical offices and passing out free samples of these medications. They said that it's a long-acting pain reliever. It has little potential for abuse. It's great. It's perfect for pain. Give it out, give it out, get it out. Like, they wanted everyone to be on this. Well, about 1998, patients were reporting that, hey, you say this is long-acting. It's supposed to last like 8 to 12 hours, but it doesn't. It lasts like maybe 3 or 5 hours. So what do we do then? And so this is where we get pain is the fifth vital sign. Purdue Pharma completely made this up. I'm sure you guys have, I don't know what's going on with throat. I know Zeus you have, but if you've ever gone to a hospital, they are very, very, very good about, well, they should be asking you your pain level. Because what Purdue Pharma said is, oh, if you have breakthrough pain, which is something 7 to 10 on the pain scale,
Wow.
you can redose yourself on Oxycontin. Okay.
Jesus.
And then they released a 160 milligram dose tablet. So like before this, they had 80. That was the highest dose they went. And then after this whole thing, they went to 160.
Wow.
That's a lot of medication.
Oh yeah.
2001 came along, and there was a study. Somebody did a study about with Oxycontin saying, hey, this is not really better than any other opioid we have on the market at treating pain. And actually it's stronger than morphine. It's like 1.5 Oxycontin is.
Okay.
It's maybe 1.5 times stronger than morphine. So not a lot, but it is stronger than morphine. And so the FDA said that Purdue Pharma needs to be putting warning labels on this, saying that it is potentially addictive. It's really strong, whatever. And then they had to end their voucher program. What that was is they were handing out these vouchers to patients for free medication, basically.
Wow.
Free drugs.
Really? Wow.
At this time, last episode I mentioned in 2001 I lost my dad. So this is what happened to him. He was on Oxy 80s for a couple years. He had some severe back pain from an accident, and he was fine. He took it twice a day, was functional. This came out, and the Oxycontin wasn't taken off the market, but people were changing their prescribing practices, and he was then prescribed hydrocodone. That's not going to cut it if you're on Oxy 80s. Okay.
No.
So he developed a heroin addiction, and unfortunately he overdosed and passed away.
Oh, Des.
Yeah, it
Sorry,
sucked.
but
That's terrible. Sorry to hear about that. I know
mean-
it was a long time ago, but that's terrible.
Yeah, this is not like my dad went out on Demerol, which is probably pretty severe. I'm sure it's around morphine. And he actually started doing like, if you go
It's
online,
actually below hydrocodone, but I mean, it still doesn't matter.
he would do these concoctions that you can find the recipe online of like ephedrine and like other things, and it'll make you trip balls and like, yeah, it's crazy, and we're not even touching fentanyl yet.
But
No,
but this is important. And again, I'm just going to be the voice of the ignorant because there's a lot of this I don't know about. But I have heard about oxycodone, and what is that in relation to Oxycontin?
So oxycodone is the active ingredient in Oxycontin. The reason it's called Oxycontin, I don't know if you've heard of MS cotton, but the cotton portion of it is just the system of extended releaseness that it has.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to better explain that,
released.
but yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why it would be Oxy ER. Like, I don't know why I think there's a different type of patented situation that
Maybe
is
it's
different than how the
different
medication is
receptors.
released over
What were
time.
the
But I
brand
don't know what that
names?
is.
What were the brand names that this was being marketed under?
Oxycontin.
Oxycontin.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
So-
was that wasn't this the Rush Limbaugh addiction drug too
Mhm.
back in the day?
Yeah, it absolutely was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where is Percocet related? How is Percocet
Yeah. So
related to this?
Percocet. Here we'll go next slide. So Percocet.
Oh,
Where
wow.
Percocet came in. Okay. So we'll get to it, I guess, in just a second. So in 2002 to like 2014, because of it wasn't taken off the market yet, but because prescribing practices were changing because of this new data that was out. You saw an increased use of heroin, high rate in prescription opiate diversion, and all these pill mills were popping up. People that would prescribe oxycodone and oxycontin, but mostly oxycodone, hydrocodone, in just stupid amounts. Like there was a lady in Oklahoma that the math worked out to where she was prescribing 99 pills a day to a patient. That's a lot.
Wow.
That's bad for anything. I don't care what the pill
That's
is.
so much. And yeah, so if you're getting 99 pills a day, you're not taking 99 pills a day. You're selling them. You're giving them to your friends. You cannot take 99 pills in a day. You can't. It's like not impossible. Just not enough hours in the day. Go ahead.
Did you say that person in Oklahoma is that reported to be the patient or the doctor?
That was the doctor.
That's
that
because that was sort of a rampant problem. Like there were a lot of doctors that were getting busted by the feds and by state government when I was like working as a prosecutor. Like you would have these little Dr. Feelgoods in all of these major like cities. It was sort of like you'd get word of who's the doctor that's going to give me.
Yeah, they call it doctor shopping.
Yeah. Right. And some of them, you don't know if they're getting extra money, sort of cash on the side, or a lot of them were just negligent, or
a lot of it was insurance claims.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, yes, on the side, $25 here, $75 there, just for an extra script.
Well, Desiree,
I mean, it was bad.
Desiree, can you explain how heroin relates to Oxycontin? And I know heroin is an opioid, right? It's so
the opioid.
How does it compare? Like, where is it on the family tree of opioids?
Heroin is 50 times stronger than morphine.
Wow. Okay, gotcha.
So this blows that out of the water.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about it is heroin is probably less deadly because it's natural. I mean, if you get
it's also not as strong.
True.
It's also not as it's not as strong as fentanyl.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, just as a noob, I mean, to hear that heroin is not as strong. I mean, when I was growing up, heroin was like the top rung on the ladder.
Yeah,
of everything.
Yep, yeah. Heroin was like the worst of it. And then you could go to parties with your friends, do a couple lines of blow, hey, pop a couple ecstasy tablets,
do whatever. But I'm not taking heroin.
Well, no, because in your mind you're like, I don't want to get there, but I'll have fun. I don't want to get to heroin now.
Right.
But you could, and I'm not saying that that's bad. I've done it, like not heroin, but I've done, just some funsies here and there. Everyone does.
Who hasn't? Yeah.
Who hasn't done that?
No, but you're right. You're right, Mike.
Tom has not done any of this.
No, growing up and experimenting with stuff.
Because he works for the CIA, and they would have caught it.
Heroin was like the
high on
forbidden
life,
fruit.
man.
Yeah, heroin and meth. Couldn't do those, but you could do anything else.
I don't even remember knowing about meth back when I was young.
Here's the thing, and the timeline is weird. Like the first time I ever heard about Percocets, I worked with a guy. This was like 2000, and he was abusing Percocets, and he was buying them from people who had prescriptions.
Yeah, they got them probably from these pill mills.
And it was like $10 a pill, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah,
and this guy was taking probably like 8 to 10 a day.
It's $2 a milligram is the going street price.
And that was in 2000, so he was ahead of the curve. He was
It may have been
He's a mover and a shaker.
He was breaking the norms.
Hey, Desiree, just one last quick medical question. Just as somebody who's had surgery, who's been in terrible pain, the one thing I remember that was prescribed to me that worked was a drug they called Dilaudid, I think, or Dilaudid.
Hydromorphone.
I meant Dilaudid when I said that earlier, Des.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, so that's hydromorphine, correct?
Hydromorphone, yes.
Okay, and that's that's more powerful than morphine, but not as much as this stuff.
Oh no. This is not as strong as any of this. It's somewhere between. So how the scale goes, you go morphine, hydromorphone, oxymorphone, and then heroin is how the scale goes. So it's about 30 times. I mean, 30 times stronger than morphine. If you want to.
No, I got it. Just for the sake of like my own experience, the
Mhm.
fact that
Just
that Dilaudid was so effective at taking away incredible pain, even though it only would last, I don't know how much I was given, and it would last about 2.5, 3 hours before I was like kicking and screaming for
Mhm.
more. And you're telling me that these drugs you're talking about blow that out of the water.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing to me because
So
Yeah.
the typical
that
dose,
hydromorphone that shit works.
yeah, the
You know what
typical
I
dose
mean?
of hydromorphone is 0.2 to 1 milligrams.
Yeah, and
So
when I,
in heart surgery, just for perspective, so you guys were talking about oxycodone or Percocet. So Percocet is oxycodone and Tylenol. Oxycodone is just the active opioid in Oxycontin. So oxycodone and Tylenol is what a Percocet is. It's combined.
Oh, okay.
So, and just like hydrocodone is whatever the hydro is in there, the codone, and then
Combined
also
with.
I think it's some rendition of codeine plus Tylenol. So those two are combined in the medication. So Dilaudid usually, so in heart surgery, post-op heart surgery, you just had your chest cut open and your ribs spread. We only give the starting dose is 0.2 milligrams of Dilaudid, and then you alternate with 5 milligrams of oxycodone.
yeah, Des, when I said Demerol earlier, that's actually what I meant was Dilaudid. Dilaudid.
Well, Demerol that's an old drug that they used
Yeah,
to
but
use.
Dilaudid is the one that my dad went out on, and when I had my cholecystectomy, which is a gallbladder removal, that's I was like, I was in the hospital. I don't have like addiction problems. I just don't. I dump pills out when I'm done with them. I don't have that issue. But man, when I was in the hospital, I was like, oh yeah, can I get some more of that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, me too. No, me too, Zeus. That's why I was trying to get some perspective because the Dilaudid is amazing if you're in incredible pain. And if fentanyl makes that seem like a walk in the park, it's no
Yeah.
wonder all these people are dying from it. I
Yeah, that's
can't
what I'm saying.
imagine.
Like they usually reserve fentanyl for extreme. I mean, like I said, your femur just got split in half and it's sticking out of your leg, like this.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
3 inches
That
out
kind of
your
pain that
skin.
is extreme. They'll give you in the rig. They'll give you like 125 mics of fentanyl push.
Or like
So.
even like I when I went to the doctor because the Orioles have gone 40 years without making it to the World Series, they prescribed me fentanyl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because it was very akin to having your femur broken.
Yeah,
Mike had
All right, let's get back
diarrhea
on
and
the
he was
track.
like,
okay,
Yeah.
so when I say prescribing practices beginning to change, this is what I mean by, when you go to the dentist and you get like a tooth pulled and they give you a script for 30 days of Norcos, Vicodin.
yeah.
They stopped doing that.
Not 30 days, no.
They used to do. You go to the ER and you're like, oh, my shoulder hurts. 30 days of Vicodin. There you
Wow.
go. Just off
7
the
days
bat. Didn't
tops.
care. And that's stemming from this pain is the fifth vital sign. You could go to an ER and be like, my nose hurts, and they give
I
you
remember
fucking
this.
drugs.
I remember
Yes.
that time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So then they started doing pain management clinics. So if you were a patient that had chronic pain and you were prescribed opioids, instead of your primary care physician doing that, you had to go to a pain management clinic that took care of your pain needs or whatever. And they're strict. They make you bring your pain pills with you and they count them. They do urine drug screens. I mean, they're pretty strict. So then we this was, I guess when you say the opioid crisis, this is what I'm talking about. So this is hospital involvement, post-surgical involvement. I think when we release patients from the hospital, we only give them, if we give them opioid prescriptions, it's only 2 weeks worth. But I mean, we have a reason. You pretty much have to have a reason for your pain anymore. Then we kind of moved into the second wave of the opioid crisis, which is kind of hidden, really. I mean, it's not really, people don't think that this was a real significant part, but it is. Okay, about 2014 and 2018, fentanyl starts showing up. Fentanyl deaths are happening. Okay, that occurred because China, you could order this shit on the internet, just fentanyl off on the internet, and it would be mailed in the mail, just USPS, just good old mailbox from China.
Wow.
Just straight up fentanyl. People started lacing heroin with it, or once that stopped being affected, this new thing called China White came out. that was straight fentanyl. And people were
Wow.
injecting that
Jeez.
or smoking that, whatever.
Jesus.
Also, I mean, this wasn't as big. Fentanyl bags are being diverted from hospitals and being sold on the street. I mean, a bag of fentanyl is 2,500 micrograms, and that's like $500,000 on the street.
Jeez.
Jesus.
Yeah. So lucrative business. Okay, so because the thing about those fentanyl deaths though is it was the addicts. You know, we keep those people. We don't want to talk about them. We're gonna hide them in a corner. You know, so it really wasn't a huge thing.
That's
you
like
know?
first wave.
Yeah. So 2018, President Trump works with President, what's his name?
Xi Jinping. Xi
Xi
Jinping.
to make fentanyl and fentanyl related substances illegal in China. This is your, down here it says what they are, but this is your precursors and your analogs and your fentanyl. So you have fentanyl and you have your precursors to fentanyl, which is you mix two things together to get fentanyl, so precursors. And then 25 analogs. Those are, carfentanil is an analog, but basically what it is fentanyl, but like maybe a part of the molecular compound is like moved around. This is chemist shit. Like this is not cooking meth in your backyard shit. Like this is
This is
well thought out.
Yeah.
So if you move a methyl group, you know, to another side, it's called something else. Still fentanyl, you know, but it's just called something else.
Jesus.
So they passed something called the STOP Act, which requires the sending country to provide advanced electronic information on what's in the package. This is, you know, gum. This is notebooks. This is whatever it is. And it also provided, I don't know if it was specifically the STOP Act or something that was rolled on along with that, but provided U.S. Customs the funding for like technology that would be able to detect whatever substance in a parcel without having to open it up.
Can dogs smell it?
No, dogs can't smell it. It doesn't have
Wow.
Okay.
So this was passed in 2018, but didn't go into effect until 2020. But they also had given some waivers to smaller countries that don't really send a lot of packages to the US, like a waiver, because they didn't have the technological ability to do all that. It's reported that like around 2021, so a little bit after this went into effect, that 30 to 40% of the international mail provided the required advanced electronic information. Now, I mean, sources are different, but as of 2022, beginning of 2023, only 85% of the packet of the international mail provide this information to customs.
So this it does, before you go on to the next slide. When I was researching it, it was hard to figure out because it looks like China made it a controlled substance within China.
Yes,
you know, they
so
kind of banned it for their own people, but it didn't say explicitly that they stopped producing it and stopped shipping it out.
That's a perfect point. So I should have mentioned this. So they only banned what was at the current time known to be an analog or a precursor. There's hundreds. There's only 25 things on that list of banned substances. And I will tell you, just because something's banned doesn't mean that it's not getting made. I promise you that.
There's money. Yeah.
And it's easy. It's the internet. It's not even the dark web. Just the fucking regular internet. You just go on there. It's called Global Source. And you just type what you want in, and then it brings up they disguise themselves as like chemical companies. You can probably make up additives or whatever that you want to make. You know, they just got long names. 3-dimethyl 4-doxyamino 5 or whatever it is. So if you know what you're doing, real easy.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Who knows what they're doing though? I mean, how do you know what you're actually getting?
A chemist.
Yeah, so you'd have to be a chemist
and probably not even
to order something safely.
Probably not
well,
even.
I mean, not even a real chemist, just somebody really smart that could look at something and figure it out.
Well, I'm thinking
really smart though.
With the right recipe, you don't even have to be the best chemist on the planet. You just gotta know the recipe. You know
the recipe. Yep, and it ain't hard to get the recipe. I know the recipe.
You can probably find it on YouTube.
I mean, you just mix a little bit of things together, and boom, there you
It's
go.
not on the
Like
next
I said,
slide, is it?
it's no, I didn't put it on
I
here.
think I
Okay.
just
I also didn't put the website on there.
I think I
mean,
just came up with an idea of something else we can put in our Foz shop.
Yes,
let's
we can have
not.
these little pills with Foz printed on them.
Mhm.
This is easier than cooking meth. I mean, this is so easy to do.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy that much. This stuff doesn't weigh. I mean, back in the day, they used to have to smuggle up these barrels of freaking weed in. It's big, it was bulky. This stuff, a kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, is enough for millions of doses of this.
Jeez. Yeah.
So you can disguise that in a package pretty easily.
Okay, but is the thought though that it's being still manufactured in China?
It is.
And then
It 100% is. When I say manufactured, it's brokered. This is a business. People have 401ks being in this business over there.
Wow.
This is legit.
okay, so their ban didn't really do anything as far as the exporting of it. Okay.
No.
It's just domestically.
Yeah.
Right.
And for all the looky-loos that are gonna try and ban us for saying it, we're talking about the government of China with it, or industry, not the people. It's definitely, this is an industrious effort in China, I'm sure.
Well, there are people that are making this stuff, but we're not indicting the entire country.
Yeah,
or
what I
population of
mean
China.
is,
We get it out there because
China, the Chinese government has sent subsidies to these chemical companies. Like it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when you get on these websites that are the buying source or whatever, and you find what you want, it says on there like there's a WhatsApp number and a contact information. And you have to contact the broker in China to get what you want. You can't, I mean, and they say right on there, yeah, we'll ship to the US. We have really
it's like a
creative
coordinated
ways.
attack, really. As far as I don't want to get conspiracy on you, but it seems like they're doing it intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
another Yuri Bezmenov episode.
So this is what I mean. In 2019, there was a small decline in deaths from fentanyl overdoses because of the ban of fentanyl coming in from China directly to the US. Okay, well, 2018, they're like, well, I guess, 2018, 2019, China was like, well, shit, we can't send fentanyl directly there. I guess we'll just send it to Mexico and the cartels can bring it up. That's what started happening. And the cartels, they run everything and it's real hard to fight them. So what they were doing is they were sending just straight up fentanyl, but mainly fentanyl precursors to Mexico. And they would be in the fields, like just cooking up this fentanyl and whatever. And you're dumping this bag of stuff and this bag of stuff and, mixing it with however much liquid you want. You got to cook it up. That makes like real inconsistent product.
But they don't care.
They don't care. They're not taking it. They don't have a problem in Mexico or China. They don't care. So that's how when they say they're 1 or 2 pills will have enough to kill somebody, but the rest of the bag doesn't. It's because it's so inconsistent.
Wow.
It's just like in a blender.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
So like if you mix something up in a blender, is it always consistent? No. So that's how you get here. Also, so they would traffic, so they get the fentanyl precursors, they'd mix it with the thing, and it would be just powdered fentanyl. They would bring that. Also, they were bringing these pills. You get a pill press from China, and you just make whatever you want. So this is called a Perk 30, which is a street name, but this is like this is MS Cotton, I think is the real thing.
Man, that came up in one of the things I was looking up.
What?
Like
Perk 30s? Yeah, it's because it's called Perk 30. This is the fake Perk 30. Do they look the same? Yes, they do.
It was basically that a lot of heroin users became Perk 30 users just from the market.
Yeah, because if you're a heroin user and you started using China White fentanyl, and then they took your China White fentanyl away, you're going to use Perk 30s because it's fentanyl.
Well, just a public service announcement, not just to take a little short diversion here, we had another episode where we were talking about THC and marijuana and edibles and things along those lines. You know, if you have brownies or gummies or candies or whatever, and they're like, hey, this is so many milligrams of
this is the same thing.
THC in there, and you're like, okay, well, this is 100 milligrams, which is, you know, I don't want to take that many, so I'm going to cut it into fourths and take 25 milligrams. It's not necessarily 25 milligrams. There's no saying
Have
that
y'all ever
within
made
that
y'all
thing
ever,
that it's evenly distributed.
yeah, that's more
That's
regulated.
right.
But if you ever made pot brownies on your own with the butter and the
I
Okay.
haven't, but my neighbor did.
okay,
I've
well, if somebody
poured
has made
witness
them
to it.
before and you have eaten
Yeah.
them before,
Oh
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
the one brownie on one side of the pan isn't necessarily as good, or is
That's
might be stronger
Right.
than one on
But
the
I'm
other
saying
side
this
of
is
the
the
pan.
same idea.
It's the
I'm
same
saying
idea.
you can't
Yeah.
assume that it's evenly distributed.
Yeah, you
Right.
could
There's no uniformity to the
Yeah.
batch that you get.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
the end of the PSA.
This pill could
Now,
have
yeah,
4 milligrams. This pill could have none.
right.
You don't know. It's Russian roulette with the pills. Pill roulette.
I'm gonna take the nun pill.
Anyway, I just wanted there's a comparison between that other episode we did. But just
So
saying.
not only when they get the powder fentanyl to the US, I mean, that was still as China white, that was still the lacing with heroin. But you had your homegrown pharmacists, chemists here too that were making these. They aren't just all brought in from the border. People make them here too.
Mhm.
Then sometime before 2020-ish, they just started saying this is really cheap and we can cut this into anything. And so this is why every single drug that is known on the street has fentanyl in it. Doesn't matter, even if it doesn't make sense. Cocaine, MDMA, Xanax, well, fake Xanax, fake Adderall, methamphetamine. I don't know why they bring it over the border because there's so much of it here, but whatever. Mexican methamphetamine has fentanyl in it.
Wow.
All of it.
That's like
Molly, everything.
That's like
Wow.
a full form of what killed John Belushi. You got meth, and then you got fentanyl, like two total different reactions from the medication. That's fucking scary.
So this is I think this is the real side, and yeah, this is the real side. So these are real, these are fake.
How are you supposed to tell? I mean, you
How
can't even
do
tell.
you?
And I was doing a little bit of research. Again, I am the most ignorant person on this podcast about this situation, but
I agree.
I was I was shocked when I was just doing the little research I did that it's not just painkillers. It is in
everything.
cough medicines, it's in antidepressants, it's in
It's
antibiotics for crying
Yeah,
out
well,
loud.
so
Like,
that's the antibiotics and the antidepressant stuff. That's more really just contained to Mexico, because what the cartels do and what counterfeiters do is they make the fake whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. And people from the United States will come for medical
down.
tourism and think they're buying like their
Oh no.
Paxil or their whatever antibiotic, their Keflex, because they can't afford it in the US. So they just jot on over to the border and get it for really cheap, but it's fentanyl.
I'm just saying when
even
people in the last few years have been like, wow, these are people in, like what Desiree was saying earlier, these are the undesirables that are like having this drug or whatever. I'm saying there are people that believe that they are taking a Percocet because they have a real need for it and they can't afford it, and they're getting it elsewhere and they're taking it under normal circumstances and dying.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Jack, let's just say that you got
these aren't
sent
all
home
just
on Oxycodone.
I'm just saying these aren't all people just trying to have fun, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but so Jack, when you had your surgery, let's just say you got discharged with a prescription for oxycodone. You take it, and you've been having this pain for 2 years at this point. Well, all of a sudden, you have to change doctors, or something happens where they're not giving you the amount that you are used to. And maybe it's not that much. Maybe it's 2 or 3 a day. That's pretty normal. Well, all of a sudden, you've now become physically dependent. Even though you're not like feeling that you have, your body has become physically dependent on that. So this is what happened to my dad. He was physically dependent on that. So you go and you're like, oh my gosh, I could probably just get some oxycodone off the street, or from your friend John or whatever. Well, John sells you these. John didn't know they were fentanyl. You take 2 before bed, you don't wake up.
Yeah.
How easy that is.
Yeah.
You know,
John sounds like an asshole.
well,
Well,
Zeus, your son, who's your oldest one, Ollie or Max?
Yeah,
Ollie.
Ollie decides that he wants to go party with some friends.
Right.
Cocaine's flying. Hey, try this, friend. Peer pressure. And he does it. Fentanyl.
And not
Dies.
listen,
Yeah.
just
Not because he's
a
naive.
little,
He's opioid naive.
yeah, no,
That's
I've
how
got
quick it kills people.
it scares the shit out of me because I've
Thanks for
got
scaring me, Des.
I know.
No.
This is serious.
no, I've got Des, I've got 4 sons, and they were all in the age group of like exploration and stupidity.
Yeah.
That deadly combination
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
your
Do a
teen,
couple
your
lines, pop a molly, get a little
well,
ecstasy,
whatever,
you know,
yes,
whatever. Stuff that used to be fine.
well, I mean,
not,
it's
but
just like I've got, I can't imagine my kids just being suddenly completely stupid and reckless, but if you feel like something's safe and your friends are doing it and they say this is gonna, that's what we all did as young people ourselves.
Oh my God, did we?
Yeah, so it's scary that this junk is suddenly in everything that you might pick up on the street.
Yeah. What if you're in college and you want to study for 3 days in a row? You want to take your
Adderall.
Addy. You
Yep.
used to just be able to buy them from people, and they weren't fake. Now, fentanyl.
It
I
really
went-
Yeah,
feels
that's
like an
crazy.
attack on the U.S. I mean, that's a bit extreme, but
Well, we'll get to that. I don't
Fuck's
think it
sake.
maybe was. I don't think it is. I think intentionally, but I think that's how it's maybe turning. But intentionally,
but-
no. It's
but I
supply and
think-
demand. It is what it is. I mean,
When-
they're supplying it. We want it, so they're going to supply
and I
it.
mean,
It-
Well, yeah, but just based on the phenomenon that Mike that I was just describing with young people and recklessness and stupidity and curiosity, I think that's why we're talking about this now, because
Yes.
it's not just the undesirables that are falling to this.
It's
And I
It's your
didn't-
it's your
yeah.
fucking kids.
It's
your
kid.
kids. It's your moms and dads that maybe had the Percocet prescription taken
And
or
I didn't-
whatever.
And
Yeah.
I don't believe in undesirables. I'm just saying the way that this is covered. And
No, of course, Mike.
when I went to Virginia Tech, and I remember it was like a joke. Like, you would go to the nurse on campus, and this is a major 25,000 undergraduate state university.
yeah, it's a good
And
school.
when people would need to be able to stay awake, like especially during exam season, like everyone got a cold, everyone got sick, and like you would go to, sick, and you would go to the campus pharmacist, and they
Infirmary.
would give you ephedrine,
Yep, fentanyl.
and everyone was like taking ephedrine, like self-included, like during exam time. That's completely bananas. And then I remember going to raves in the 90s, and again, I'm
Pop a
not
molly.
proud of this.
I'm sweating.
But I'm not proud of this. But I'm just saying, I remember taking something that had Beavis from Beavis and Butthead on it.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, Blue
Mhm.
Beavis.
a
Yeah,
tab. Whatever. I mean, that's completely stupid. I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm
That was
college
ecstasy, by the way.
I
educated,
disagree.
well-read. I'm just saying. I'm saying this is a public service announcement. Like, this is
Young kids
we
are
were
gonna do
lucky.
it.
We were lucky. Like, the kids that are making these decisions now are dealing with this stuff.
And it's
that's
not.
a
Yeah.
It's
whole
not
other
like.
game. It's a whole other game.
And it's
And
not
it's
like,
like
your
they're
friends
just
are all
doing the
taking
thing-
this and they're dying.
Yeah.
So, because if your friends were dying, you probably wouldn't do it either. But it's the Russian roulette of it. It's that in
Correct.
that bag of 500, 2 of them can kill you.
Correct.
They
and our
just got lucky to get the ones that aren't going to kill you.
Our kids'
There you go.
attention spans are so fucking destroyed with the phones. And I'm just as guilty with the phone, but they like look up, oh yeah, I'll take that. Boom. I mean,
Yeah,
I can literally
pillidentifier.com.
see a
Oh, it
kid
looks
doing
real.
it. Yeah, it's frightening. It's terrifying. And you will get into it, but it really feels like maybe it wasn't started out as an attack, but it certainly has developed into something that is, detrimental to our society.
Here's what we need to get over as a society. And I can't believe I'm not wearing my glasses, and I keep reaching for my glasses, which is
I know I do that sometimes. Like, and I have
But
to play it off like I'm just touching my face.
Here's the thing we need to get over. I'm looking at this screen that Desiree has up right now, and just as a person, I'm 51 years old. I mean, I'm way
Holy
younger than
shit,
everyone
you're
here except for
51?
Desiree. But I look at these pictures, and I don't know. I trust it. Like if I see something that looks like this, I'm like, wow, that's it's official.
got
Like it's got
stamped.
some lines and numbers on it. Like that's totally legit. It's not like I'm going down an alley and buying this stuff. I'm saying people need to be aware of what they were putting in their bodies, and they need to educate their children to also be aware that you can't just take something because someone says you should. I don't care if it's a pharmacist. I don't care if it's your parents.
Well, yeah, but
Like,
these are
you
street
need-
drugs.
Yeah, and
I
different-
These
know, but
aren't
I'm
even
saying, but
street
this is
drugs.
where
These are-
it's creeping out. There are people that are medical tourists going down to Mexico, Tijuana, whatever, and they're not trying to they're just trying to save some money.
Right. They're not looking to get high.
From the
They're
stuff
not
that
really
I
at high.
putting it in antibiotics. That's fucking.
I did see there was one story about a girl that had gone down there. She was just seeing like how easy it was to get like in Tijuana for medical tourism, and there she bought a Xanax from somebody, and the lady that sold it to her was like, "This is Mexican. This is from Mexico. It's very strong. Don't take more than half at a time." Like she was almost warning her, like, "Hey,
Wow.
Yeah, there's some
don't be
shit in it.
stupid."
Wow.
Well,
So-
those 4 people that got kidnapped, supposedly
For
from their
surgery.
story, they'd gone down there for medicine.
Got kidnapped for what?
You don't remember? This was like a week ago.
Yeah, it was-
I
they were
think
going
2
down
people
for-
got killed. Yeah.
It was for surgery, but same idea. It was still for medical. It was to save money on medical procedures or medical costs. The one thing, listen, and we can talk about it later after the slideshow, but I can't help but think, I used to joke about this, but the branding of pharmaceuticals, again, I remember back, and this was like late 90s,
Yep.
when Prozac came out, and they had like the bouncing balloon that would go down the
Mhm.
road
The
with a
tomato.
happy
There was a
face on it.
tomato. He was a
It was-
tomato.
or tomato or whatever, and everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. And we've talked about this on our podcast before about like, why are these companies marketing and branding things to the general public when I'm not a pharmacist, I'm not a doctor? Like, why are they these aren't Cheetos, this isn't Coca-Cola. Like, why
Well-
are you trying to get me into it? And it feels like if it wasn't for that push, that we wouldn't have this problem.
No,
Well,
you're right.
when Oxycontin was, like I said, they had very, very aggressive marketing, and they would advertise on. They had commercials. Oxycontin.
Oh yeah, sure they did.
This
yeah.
stuff, I mean, Percocet, Xanax, and Adderall don't have commercials.
They all have a L or a Y or a Z or an X.
An X, yeah.
No,
No,
like
Mike.
the Claritin, everyone's like tripping balls, like everything's like clear. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't think we would have had, and this is my own hypothesis, I don't think we would have had an issue this severe if it wasn't for 20 years of this
Yeah.
branding of
If it wasn't
pharmaceuticals
for
direct
Purdue
to the
Pharma.
consumer, which, and again, I don't know if people understand this, but before like 1996, 1995, that didn't exist. There
Okay,
were
but what did I
not
say a few slides ago?
advertisements.
Purdue
Right.
Pharma.
No, Mike,
Yeah.
you're right. It was the late 90s because I remember it was the whole internet boom, and
Yeah.
it was the Clinton administration. I remember watching on TV, and every other commercial was for a pharmaceutical, it seemed like, and that was a new thing. Like I
It was
like,
new.
and you know how I remember it was new, Mike, because all those commercials would end with the possible
With the
side
fine
effects.
print, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd always hear that guy at the end, side
Yeah.
effects may include nausea, bleeding gums, and bleeding
Your penis
rectum.
falling off. Blah,
Explosive
blah, blah, blah.
diarrhea.
Anal seepage.
Oily stool.
Yeah, anal seepage.
All right, let's go on. Okay, so I'm
Sorry.
sure you guys have
Okay.
all seen this picture.
Doesn't that look like something you want to eat?
Candy. Yeah.
Well,
does.
I'll get to it.
No, I'm saying if you're a kid. I'm saying if you're a kid.
I don't.
If you're 6 years
Looks
old.
like
I
a
you're
mean,
gonna
I
be
guess
sick.
if you got your,
Yeah.
I guess if you got your rainbow fentanyl in a fucking candy dish, but
No,
that,
I'm
you're
just
not.
saying, if you're 6 years old and you stumble upon that, you're eating it.
You're
Just
dead.
saying.
Skittles.
But you should. Usually, that's
shouldn't.
not happening. I mean,
All right.
there's a
no,
reason
I-
for this though, and I'll tell you what
Okay.
it is. So
I'm
then in
jumping on.
2020, yeah, something called carfentanil starts showing up in the US. Carfentanil is the fentanyl analog. Remember when I was talking about there was those 25 fentanyl analogs that they banned? Carfentanil is 100 times stronger than fentanyl.
100 times.
Wow.
Jeez.
It
Which
doesn't
is-
there's hundreds of fentanyl analogs. When we use in medicine, frequently, sufentanil, remifentanil, there's so many fentanyl, alfentanil. Carfentanil it does get marketed in medicine, only it's used as an elephant tranquilizer.
Jeez.
Wow.
They're big.
They're huge. But it started showing up in drugs and stuff. This is where you get the whole officers are having to wear all this gear to check the drugs, because if they even touch it, it'll kill them. That's not necessarily true, but what it is if the powder.
They just had to, like, do you have any needles on you? And that was it. Now it's like fucking.
Yeah, because if they pull out like a tissue or something, and they open the tissue, and the dust from the carfentanil comes up, and you inhale it, dead.
Now, Des, is this
touching?
Like
it's not going to kill you, though. I promise you that. I've had pretty much 3/4 of a bag of fentanyl fall on me, and it didn't do anything.
So Des, what is the normal like vector that they take? Do they snort it? Do they smoke it? Do they take a pill?
Pills, powders, shoot up. All of the above. You can smoke it, you can snort it, you can shoot it, you can take it in a pill, you can put it in your butt. You can do anything. What?
Can you put it in a smoothie?
You can put it in a smoothie.
That's going in the best of. Sorry, I got it. We were talking about a best of. I think you can put it in your butt. That's going in the best of. I'm marking that down, that timestamp right now. Hold on.
2022, something called a rainbow fentanyl started showing up. This is not really what it's called. This is just what they're dubbing it, rainbow fentanyl, because it has all these colors. The reason that they have it like this is what everyone wants to say. It's, oh, they're marketing kids now with this candy looking fentanyl. That's not why. There is a very good reason why these are all these colors. So if you look at them, you have purple or lavender, yellow, teal, and pink, right? See any other colors on there? What color were those perk 30s we were looking at?
Blue.
There's no blue in there. So it differentiates them. That's why it's like that.
Oh.
That is purple. It's not blue.
Okay.
So they started getting this out of trucks. Just for some numbers' sake, in fiscal year 2021, over 14,000 pounds of fentanyl. Now you're going to see if you look this up, you're going to see a lot of different numbers. 25 million doses were, whatever. That's kind of a weird skewed number, because when they say doses, they're thinking of 2 milligrams. So that's not always what's in every. So we're just going to use pounds. Over 1,400 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the U.S. southern border. 84% of that was seized at actual entry points, and 16% was seized from people trying to run across. In a sense, when we're talking about the entry points, only 1% of what was at entry points was from illegal immigrants. The other 85% was U.S. citizens.
Jesus.
Maybe not by choice. Some of them are by choice. Some of them, like you're in Mexico for a little vacay. And
they got to catch these people coming from Mexico with coconuts in their hands, though.
Yeah, these people, see those are bags of perk 30s hidden in coconuts. Coconut truck has a whole bunch of coconuts in the back, a couple of them got perk 30s in them.
So pina coladas are in danger as well.
Yeah, there was a border agent that said that he was getting paid like $40,000, and they would tell him like once every 5 hours, you're going to see a car, just let it go through. Just wave it through, and he'd get this like huge amount of money just to do that like once in a while.
If you're a border patrol and somebody's offering you $40,000, and you got to eat too. You want a good life. Shit.
Look, there's stories of minors. There's stories of minors in within 100 miles of the border, who are getting paid thousands of dollars to drive down and pick people up at random checkpoints on the road and drive them into the interior. Again, anytime
so that's happening. Cartels are taking cars. Like if you drove like to Tijuana, let's say you are in San Diego, you live in San Diego, and you just want to go do a stupid weekend and with your girlfriends or whatever, and they'll, like, when you're sleeping at night, the cartels will put this shit in your car in a GPS tracker, and then when you drive your ass back to San Diego, somebody will come find it, another night, take it out.
And take it off.
You just smuggled it in.
And
Didn't
like,
even know.
here's the frightening thing.
Wow.
Like, meth was a big thing. Like, we'll go Breaking Bad era. So what, like 7-8 years ago. Meth, like, when you do meth, Des and I were talking about this the other night, is like the reason they cook it in the desert is because you can see people coming from miles and miles away. But the fentanyl, it sounds like you can do that in your bathtub.
Yeah, fentanyl labs don't blow up like meth labs do. So
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. All you gotta know is how to put chemicals together.
We're gonna need a. Oh,
There's
wow. Okay.
so fentanyl is a danger. Carfentanil is now a danger, but there's other shit out there that's maybe more dangerous than fentanyl. Something called benzodope is pretty popular. It's fentanyl mixed with etizolam, which is a benzodiazepine also imported from China. Sometimes European places, depending on where the person getting it. What that is it's just like shooting up like fentanyl, but it's got that in it, and both of the effects of the opioid and the benzo occur at one time. So a lot of the times with opiates and benzos, like it's called synergistic reaction or synergistic effects. This is 2 + 2 = 7.
Mm-hmm.
So opioids are dangerous if you take too much. Benzos are dangerous if you take too much. But if you do them together, they're extremely dangerous.
And for those of you that don't know, Des definitely knows this. Alcohol and benzos are the only two things that in their natural forms you can die from withdrawal. So what they're doing is they're heroin, you can survive from withdrawal. Everything else you can
survive. Survival, yeah.
Alcohol and benzos always bad. So you're taking easily. Is it safe to say that fentanyl is the most addictive drug out there?
I wouldn't say that, because I think opioids themselves, I mean, it doesn't matter if you take codeine every day and are addicted to it, or if you're doing fentanyl and are addicted to it. It's still an opioid and it's still equally addictive. It's just the strength of what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking the intensity adds to the addictive qualities. But so you're taking something that is way more addictive than benzos. I think we can agree on that. And you're adding a benzo to it, and now you've got something that people are taking and they can actually die from the withdrawal.
I don't know, dude. I think benzos are more addictive than opioids, but people say they're not. They're not even a Schedule 2 narcotic. They're like a Schedule 4, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're super dangerous, especially when you start mixing with stuff. You mix benzos and alcohol, that's a bad deal. It's just these actually make you stop breathing.
Yeah.
And then we don't even etazolam is not even a thing that's is in you can't even get like a prescription for this. This is too strong for people to take. That's why we don't have prescriptions for it. Then there's
want this stuff. I mean,
a person
to me,
that
it
is so
sounds
tolerant,
like it's
somebody that's so tolerant to all the other drugs they've been taking that they need something stronger to make them high.
It sounds like a bottle of suicide to me.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't know who would want this. Something that would knock down an elephant.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're
I'm sorry. May I? To give you some perspective, Tom, when somebody comes onto my unit, and their alcohol, we put them under a watch, which is called SIWA. I don't know what it stands for, but so if they have symptoms like anxiety or auditory or visual hallucinations, you give them benzos, and Des, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that benzos and alcohol both hit the same receptors.
Yeah,
so,
kind of. They're similar.
So
yeah.
when somebody is scoring on the SIWA, which it's just like 8, and it can go up to like 48 or something, you give them benzos because you can manage
the withdrawal.
Their withdrawal.
Because hold on, pause, because the dangerous thing is when you get to a certain point on your alcohol withdrawal is you can go into something called the DTs, or their seizures, and they're deadly.
Yeah.
So that's why you give them the benzos, so you don't get there. It's still not going to help it. It's just it's high doses of benzos. This is going to knock them out so they don't see shit. But also so don't seize.
And on a psych unit, man, I have had patients that I give like 12 milligrams a day of benzos, but it's better than if they don't get them. Like,
Right, until they get over the hump.
period.
yeah, you can we call it in medicine, we call it titrating them. You're slowly leading them away from the light, darkness, whichever you want to call it. But
yeah.
sorry,
So remember we talked about Narcan, or maybe we didn't talk about Narcan, but you guys know what Narcan is. It's the reversal agent for opiates. There is no, with an asterisk, there's no reversal on the street for benzodiazepine. So if you're on benzo dope and you just overdosed and someone tries to come hit you with a Narcan, sorry, it's not going to work.
Right, because that's crazy.
There is a reversal for benzos, but we only use it if like we know their history. For example, if you just got, some Valium for whatever and you got too much, like your procedure.
Is that like antabuse or
no, it's called flunazeral.
Okay.
And so we can give you flunazeral to reverse it and it'll be fine. But if you give flunazeral to somebody that's been taking benzo dope for who knows how long, you're going to throw them into a deadly seizure.
Wow.
Worse than the DTs.
This sounds like the next wave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's some shit out there. There's something called trank dope, and this is fentanyl with xylazine. Xylazine is just a really strong tranquilizer. You also get it online from China. But it's not as dangerous as a Talazine because it's not the benzo. It's just gonna fucking knock you out and kill you.
Is that the one, again, as the ignorant one here? Is that the one I've been seeing in the news that causes like skin sores and
yeah,
things
so
like
xylazine is toxic to the tissues. So not only are you hopefully aren't using a dirty needle and causing infection that way, but it's necrotizing to the tissue. So you can get people have lost fingers, they've had huge abscesses on their limbs because of it. Or here on the neck, it's popular for xylazine.
That's after they've been doing for a while though.
Yeah. Well, it's necrotizing the tissue. So you get enough.
No, I'm saying the neck is after you've been doing for a while. You're starting to.
Yeah, but if you're doing trank dope, you've been shooting up for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not the first time you've done it.
Right. These are the hardcore drugs for people who just can't get high enough. I mean, they're seeking this stuff out by name.
This is like the AP classes. Yeah.
Yeah. These people are fucking. Dude, they're lucky to be alive already.
There's something out there now called liquid flubbermazolam, and it's marketed as CD cleaner, also from China.
CDs, like
CD
a CD
cleaner. Yeah.
Let's rock it back to the 90s. Man. All right.
What it is, this is a liquid
it's
benzo.
A benzo because it's got the lamb.
This is a liquid benzo. This the date rape drug Rufinol, whatever.
No.
Well, there's a date rape drug. It's called Rufinol. And it's really strong and it really knocks you out. This is stronger than that. So, I actually know somebody that was taking this and it was really sad. Luckily he got clean and it was a really tragic withdrawal and, detox situation, but he was taking this maybe hourly doing drops.
Jesus.
Yeah. So there's a lot worse things out there. Not saying that fentanyl is not something to be worried about, but anymore it's the carfentanil. It's these things. It's people mixing whatever and getting stuff from you can still get it from China. And stuff that comes up from Mexico, I think they're saying that it's like 7% pure, the fentanyl that's coming over. You can get fentanyl analogs over from China that are 90% pure in very small packages.
Do you remember back in the day, and this is not so much for you, Des, because this is definitely more in the 50s range, but do you remember back in the day when it was like the hit of acid that you got, you don't want to get the one with fucking Fred and Barney on it because that one will fucking kill you. And like acid is like fucking child's play.
No, I don't remember
they're just
that
totally
because
different.
It wouldn't kill you. Like
I don't
they're totally
different.
Yeah, I don't ever remember.
What I'm saying is like that was don't eat the brown acid. Wasn't that the Woodstock thing?
But it wasn't going to kill you. It was like there was going to be something else, maybe happen.
But the point being is that like
it was so strong you didn't want to do it.
Our worry was that
you're going to see all the crazy shit. Yeah.
The worry was like don't eat the brown ass because you're gonna trip balls for like 6 days. Now it's like fucking
You
don't
can't do
take
any
aspirin.
drugs.
Where's the brown acid?
It's
Look, here,
And
here's
it's
my
sad.
Here's why
here's,
it's oh, go ahead, Mike.
no, I just have just a general question, and not that anyone, this is a rhetorical question, but is this increase in usage of fentanyl, is this cannibalizing other drugs that were already being taken? In other words, if there's like, here's the baseline of people that are taking these drugs and like
Right.
not working, and like, has that baseline gone up, or has the fentanyl use gone up, but all the other things they were taking before had gone down? Like, because to me,
Well,
it
it's hard to
feels
say
like
because,
the
like I
baseline has
said,
gone up.
every fentanyl's in everything. So gone are the days where you could just do a couple lines of coke with your friends at a party. There are heroin users out there that are just like, I just want heroin. Like, you can't even get heroin. That's pure heroin.
Wow.
Like, you can't, like, it's sad because it's like this.
You gotta like
This is
move to Saudi Arabia.
not only the drugs that are available, so you're gonna do the drugs that are available, but it's like you can't even get the drugs that you want. You
Well,
can't
and
even
there is
get the MDMA because
we're such a fast food society. I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. And if you can get the fucking full on high right now, that's what they're gonna go for.
right,
Because
but they don't want to. Like,
But
a lot
here-
of them
here-
don't want to. They don't want the fentanyl.
They
Why?
don't want the fentanyl.
But it's
Here's
there.
where here's the difference and why we're talking about this. And also, Desiree, in case we run out of time, absolutely fabulous slideshow and very
Thanks.
educational. I mean, seriously, I feel like we're doing a public service here. But
yeah,
you know, listen, there are people that do drugs, illicit drugs, whatever, recreationally,
Mhm.
because they're at a party or they're
Yep.
going to a
Yep.
show or they're out on a weekend.
Mhm.
And that's, you know, that's over here. And then there's people that have like serious addiction problems. And then
Your
there's
hidden
people that are
addictions.
like, you know, walking
Junkies.
zombies or whatever.
Yeah, your
The
junkies.
reason
Are-
junkies, the reason why this is getting a lot of press now is this phenomena has crept into the recreational
Yep.
space.
Even the
And
naive user. So that's number one. You have naive users, you have
Naive
recreational
users.
users, you have your hidden addictions, and then you have your junkies. It's
Yep.
all of them that are affected.
it's
all of them.
and
it used to
that's
just
why
be
we're
junkies.
hearing
Yep.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised the numbers aren't even higher than what they are now.
Well,
Give it
again,
time.
it might
Give it
be
time,
because,
brother.
like I said, a lot of testing that they do, it's not detecting opioids. So if it's positive for cocaine, you're gonna maybe group that in with the cocaine overdoses. You know,
I guess what I'm saying is that the overall, let's just say drug overdoses, like that one
Mhm.
chart you had.
Mhm.
If this poison is finding its way into all of the different drugs that could cause an OD, and this one can do it pretty accidentally. Like, you may think, oh, I'm taking my normal dose of a benzo or whatever, and it's got so much fentanyl in it, or you snort so much coke, which is normal. Like, maybe you do a line at a party, but it's got this
and you're
little
like, ooh,
killer
maybe I'll
in
do
it.
2 lines today. You know,
Right,
I'm
or
feeling
maybe it
extra
doesn't
frisky.
no, maybe it doesn't even take much because this untraceable shit is in it, and they call you. Either way, I'm just surprised the number of
Mhm.
drug deaths or overdoses isn't even higher than, and I think it will be. Like, these
Mhm.
numbers are
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
keep going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is I mean, we're talking 2000. When did you say it started, Desiree?
Like 1996 was when Purdue Pharma first rolled it
So,
out, but
I
then
mean, 20
No, the
years.
fentanyl.
2021.
20
Oh, the
years.
fentanyl, 2014.
Yeah, 20 years in the grand scheme of thing. And actually, I mean, really, if we want to be honest, it's really 2014 and later that it really fucking started hitting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like I
We're-
said, in the beginning, it was just the junkie.
Yeah,
we don't talk about those people.
We're in
Right.
we're in the baby era of this.
Mhm.
Yep.
And this is just what they got now. You know, there's a chemist out there that's coming out with something that's gonna fucking link in with your cardiac muscles, like something that you need to have, because if you don't, your heart stops. We're in this world of technology where this is so minuscule compared to how bad I think it will actually.
Actually, that's kind of a good kind of point to something else I didn't mention. So we have the deaths, you have the overdose deaths, but they're not saying, you don't hear anything about the overdose injury. So let's just say you overdose and then you're found you have been now breathing 1 to 2 times a minute for 15 minutes, and that's you know, or let's just say you were like that for a whole day. Then you get found. What do you think? An anoxic brain injury is what they call it.
You're not dead, but you're
not dead, but you're a
Jesus
vegetable, or you
Christ.
have brain damage, you have traumatic brain injury, you have some type of residual injury, and there we don't know the numbers on that.
Yeah, and let's not even get into the level of, and this is something that in psych, this is where I have issue, is like we talk about traumatic brain injuries, and the only time that they talk about a traumatic brain injury is when like somebody is like hit their steering wheel or got hit with a hammer or things like that. But I firmly believe that strokes, aneurysms, and I've seen this. This is why I say this, that traumatic brain injuries are anything that affects the brain in a negative capacity.
Well, Zeus, I know where you're going with this, but then they just call them anoxic brain injuries, or they call them a stroke residual.
But,
so
you know,
you're saying it's the mechanism of the injury. But essentially they're the same.
Yeah,
it's just the mechanism. Anoxic brain injury, your brain's injured because you didn't have enough oxygen. Traumatic brain injury, your brain was injured because you hit the ground.
Well, I see rage, TBIs, which is what we call them, traumatic brain injuries. They're the one unique thing in the psych field where people will be talking to you 1 minute, nice and calm and relaxed, and then you turn your head and they fucking clock you. And my experience is that people that have done drugs on this level or had a stroke, that it's the same effect. I don't know why it is.
It's because your brain is injured, and it depends on where it happens. Like, nothing's going on in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're self-medicating most, you know, the hardcore drug users anyway. There's something already biochemically wrong, maybe, or maybe it's just psychologically feeding some
because they're always going like this, or they're always like, you know, they cannot sit still. I mean, it's bad. Like they're always like, you know.
Well, that's withdrawal too, right? Isn't that just
no? That's
withdrawal?
Just tweaking. That's tweaking. No, that's not withdrawal. You're really itchy with sometimes. It depends. It depends on how much you've been doing, but that whole like weird movement. That's just baseline for some of these addicts.
They're just out of opinion, just not
I feel
that
like there should be a dance video to movement. That's just me.
Go ahead, Mike.
Not that we're experts, but just out of an opinion, and you know, we're very familiar with the supply and demand model. Is this a matter of the demand is so high and the supply is keeping up with it, or is this a matter of, and this gets back to the whole China thing, where the supply is amplified and is helping the demand, is fostering the demand.
I definitely think it's the demand is high, and so the supply is keeping up. Because there was always drug users, there was always heroin users, there was always, you know, the cocaine users. That's been around. But just because they literally put fentanyl in everything, it's really kind of showing the numbers of people that use illicit drugs, no matter what it is, because I mean it's causing deaths in any capacity it can. I mean, if you let's just say you've been using heroin for 30 years and now you are on fentanyl, and because that's all that's out there, you know, if somebody is like, hey, stop using drugs, are you gonna be like, okay, yeah, I think I'll stop using drugs today? You didn't just wake up and say, I think I'm gonna stop using drugs. No, you have to go through a lot. There has to be a lot of stuff, you know, a rehab. You have to want to do that. So it's like, you're not, if they keep giving it to you, so you're going to keep doing it. If they didn't have it.
Yeah, but there's
available.
Yeah, there's a difference, because like you said, you have the college student who wants to study for exams and his buddy says, oh, I can get you some Adderall from somebody I know. That's not a hardcore drug user. That's somebody who basically did something stupid, and this crap is cut into this fake Adderall that he bought, and he drops dead in his dorm room. I mean, so there's a lot more of that happening because of the supply, and because this stuff is being cut into stuff. That's why people are talking about this now, because it's not the hardcore heroin user or the guy looking for trank dope. it's your neighbor's kid or it's your neighbor's wife who basically maybe she got her tooth pulled and she ran out of Vicodin and she talked to her neighbor and said, "Oh, I'm dying here. Oh, I can get you a Vicodin. I know somebody at work that has extra, or they had the prescription or whatever." And the
It's
next
really
thing you
good
know,
Vicodin.
yeah, no, the next thing you know, you're dead.
There's been a lot of that.
So,
Yeah.
I was in preparation for Dez's show. I was listening to this podcast while I was driving here called Painkiller, America's Fentanyl Crisis. And so there's this guy and he's like going through like this litany of issues. Like he started with meth and then he moved on to like Dilaudid, and then he went on down, I think they call it the Silk Road, which is like this dark web. Yeah. And he got some China White. By the way, China White is old school heroin, Des. That's like China White is what they talk about in Pulp Fiction. That's what
Okay, well, that's what it was being called when it was just pure
no,
fentanyl.
I know. But so he he got some China White and he took some and he passed out, and he wakes up and his girl, she hit some more while he was sleeping, and he wakes up and she's like frothing out the mouth and
Like Pulp Fiction.
yeah, and come to find out that it was fentanyl. Like, yeah, I mean, this fentanyl shit is.
I think the big sea change with this particular, because again, look, some of us live around. I see I'm reaching for my glasses again, even though they're not there. Even though, some of us live around DC. I grew up in Baltimore, crack cocaine crisis in the 90s, up in Baltimore. It was all kinds of stuff going on.
They should have a show about that.
I think the difference is with where this fentanyl thing is a little different is it kind of started with illicit drugs. Again, we were talking about the undesirables, which I hate that.
The junkies.
I'm just saying that because the junkies, that's what our culture looks at them as.
I know.
And then
Sad.
it went into, if you're going south of the border to, medical tourism, or even in like, say, San Diego or LA, you'd go into the bodegas and they'd have, instead of having Tylenol, they'd have this other thing and it may be in there. But it is getting now to the point where it's entering legit pharmacies.
Yeah.
At least not necessarily in the United States, but in Mexico. And people in the United States that are like, look, I don't want to spend, I don't have insurance. This thing's going to be like a $400 copay. I'm going to go online and get this thing from this pharmacy in Canada or Mexico or whatever. So this is not coming from Jimmy Joe down on the corner. It's coming from what you would consider a legit pharmacy. But the cartels are selling. It has expanded so much that it's getting into like legit pharmaceutical supply now. And I don't think people understand.
Yeah, there was a news story just recently that there was like 4 people that died in a Mexican hospital from getting their pain medicine after whatever surgery and died.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on with this last slide? I think this is sort of what Mike's talking about.
Okay, yeah. So where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? So we've tried with the President Trump. We tried to fix the situation with China.
We got rid of that guy
and Mexico.
No, what do we do with Mexico?
Well, he tried to secure the border more than it already is.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, stop doing that.
Yeah, we stopped doing that too.
That was silly.
You didn't pay any attention to the Canadians, those fuckers.
It's coming through the Canadian border too, just FYI.
I know.
The car fentanyl is mainly coming through there. But
Canadians.
But like, how do you, to Mexico and China, fentanyl's not a problem there. Fentanyl is our problem.
They're passing through and giving it to us.
Xi Jinping, he's saying, well, we already kind of helped you. I'm sorry that we keep figuring out different ways, but you're not going to come in here and change up how we're doing our country. You do your country, we'll do ours. Like, and stop suppressing what we're doing. Like, we've got it figured out. Maybe if you guys didn't want the fentanyl so damn bad, you wouldn't be buying it. That's what they say. And Mexico's saying the same thing. They're like, look, we can't help you. I mean, this is the cartels. We're not going to fight against the cartels. I mean, stop taking the fentanyl then if you don't want it to come in. If there wasn't a demand, there wouldn't be a supply. They both.
Yeah, no, I agree with that to some extent, but at least for a while we were trying to engage in some kind of trade battle with China. At least for a while, we were trying to have a more secure. Somebody even thought to build a fucking wall,
That's
and that
crazy.
didn't work. Yeah, that crazy idea.
Yeah.
It just seems like now the government and the agencies in power that should try to do something about this problem are just doing nothing.
Right,
I mean,
but do you think it'll really help? I mean, after
I
we
don't
tried
know.
that, so we tried that. Remember, we stopped the fentanyl coming in the mail. What happened? It exploded. It's worse now.
Well, that's my question.
Would
Like,
foreign
is
policy
this
help?
is this a
go to war with?
demand issue or is this a availability issue? Right.
I think it's both. I think it's definitely
I think
a
it's
demand
both,
issue,
too.
but also exacerbated by the supply issue. I mean, what are you going to do? Go to war with cartels? Fucking
Sure.
be my
Yeah.
guest. I'll move to
Sure.
Europe because
That's
that
what's gonna
sounds
happen.
dangerous.
Yeah. I can see that happening
Well,
actually.
maybe that's what, or
So,
just maybe we can cut the supply, or maybe we just decrease the demand from within. Maybe
So-
I don't
know,
know why
that's-
that seems such like a fucking crazy idea.
No, it's great. I just don't know how to. Again, I'm
By doing
ignorant
shit
on a
like
lot of
this, harm reduction programs. I know these seem so crazy, and the only thing that we have
No.
here in the United States
this
is clean
seems like
needle exchanges.
nonsense.
But like, we use Narcan, and we don't give out fentanyl test strips, but all the fentanyl test strips
That should
exist.
be,
You can
like,
buy them and they're cheap.
everywhere.
You can get your pill or whatever, your cocaine or whatever you're using. You
Okay.
can scrape a little bit of off, mix it with water, and dip the fentanyl test strip
That
in
would
there,
be
and it'll
great.
be positive or negative. Maybe
Yeah,
that
I mean, the
part of the
people-
pill
look,
that you scraped off didn't have fentanyl in it,
listen,
but it
I
helps.
may, Desiree.
Look,
I don't think the test strips are really gonna do that much, because at this point, if you're testing your drugs for fentanyl, you're probably gonna take it regardless.
Yeah, but the naive user might.
but
Your
here's
kids
the
might
thing.
test
Fair
their
enough.
drugs.
In all seriousness, and earlier in this episode, we were talking about, like, we were joking, like, undesirables or whatever. Like that, there are no undesirables. Like the people that are dying from
I think the
overdoses from
term
this
that
stuff,
they use
they are in.
nowadays,
But I'm
Mike,
saying,
is less thans.
but what I'm saying is these are people that need help. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
looking
do
at
need
these
help.
people as the problem. I mean, these people
course not.
need some compassion and they need help. And I think one of the things that is not helping them is allowing a free flow of this product to just come into the country. I mean, that's not helping. There's a lot of things that aren't helping. I think the test strips are great. I think more Narcan is great. I don't know, man.
Narcan's
Like,
not
when
gonna help
someone
you
dies from an
benzo dope. That's
overdose,
not
I'm
gonna
not
help.
like, but when someone dies from an overdose, I'm not like, oh, you're an asshole. I'm like, oh man, that's so freaking sad.
Yeah, but the
Well,
only ones you see on TV is the kids, and you don't really hear about the junkies.
So
But it's all sad. I'm just saying, from a personal standpoint, I feel for all these people because, listen, I'm not a drug addict necessarily, but I've had issues with alcohol and like other drugs in my life, and I'm like I sympathize with people that have
Mhm.
that.
Totally.
It's not. I mean, it's not like the other. I mean, these are
It does
human
become,
beings.
I
These
know,
are
but
human beings.
it does become addiction's a bitch.
It
Okay?
is.
If you
Absolutely.
are, this is no longer you want to do this blow all the time and you want to fuck off your life. This is, you are physically dependent on this drug. It gets to a point to where
Yes.
you don't even want to be high anymore. You just don't want to be sick.
you just don't want to,
Yes.
yeah.
You don't
that's
want to
what
be
I'm
dope
saying.
sick. And Dopesick is
Dopesick,
fucking
yeah.
Dopesick is the withdrawal from an opioid. And it is
Mhm.
so terrible that you literally feel like you're going to die. You're freezing cold. Every bone in your body hurts. You want to throw up. Every movement that you make makes you want to throw up. Like, you just don't want to feel like that anymore. So you're like, fuck, if I could get a hit, I wouldn't feel like this anymore. And
Which
you're not
is
even
rational.
high. You're
But
just
isn't
normal.
that rational? That is a
That's
rational
rational.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying I have compassion for these people. Like, to me, they are not the enemy.
Mm-mm. So a lot of, like I said, the clean needle exchange programs, they have these in San Francisco. I think that's maybe the only place you can get them. You can't buy needles in a pharmacy anymore without a prescription. I think some pharmacies you can get clean needles for free, but you have to go to the pharmacist and you have to ask them. How embarrassing is that? No one's going to do that. Then there's supervised consumption sites that they have. This is where you go to use your drugs. just under the unjudgmental, watchful eye of others.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
if
you're asking people who are flushing their fucking lives down the toilet to feel like, oh, I better get a clean needle. I
And
mean,
dude,
it's
you
just
can
it's
go
complete
online.
madness. It's totally
well, but
crazy.
but this type of stuff is like this is non-judgmental. Like if you knew you could get a clean needle for free and like it wasn't even a judgment thing.
But
yeah.
it can't be on the
Yeah.
user, is what I'm saying.
Want to
Right.
be I know that the user they don't want to have infections. They don't want
Right.
fentanyl. They don't want to sell their bodies. They don't want to do that, but they have to. And so
That's what I'm saying. It can't be a hurdle. It's got to be
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
available.
All these, the effective one is in San Francisco that we have. There might be some supervised consumption sites at these places. Like I said, you could just use the drugs under a supervision of people that are not using drugs, and they have like Narcan on hand, and they can help. If you overdose, they can Narcan you.
It's like if we had to make cancer patients, do a high jump before they got
Chemo.
treatment or chemo, right? You
Well,
got to
they're
go
the
over
ones
12
that
foot
get
on. You got to pole vault over 12 feet before you give. I mean, it's complete madness. It's
Well,
totally-
also, if these people are injecting stuff that's laced with poison, and that's what this stuff is,
And they
Yes.
know it's that.
and they know it's
right?
that.
They
they
know
know.
it's that, but I mean, give
And
me
they're
a
afraid
clean
to
needle.
die.
Give me a clean needle while I inject poison into my system. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
I don't think they give a fuck.
Okay, but see, they do. Trust me, they do. Like that's what I'm saying. That's the mentality of the people that. And I'm not saying that you have the wrong mentality. I'm just saying, these are hard to like implement because people think that they're like, okay, well, they don't give a shit, but they do. They're
They
just like every
do.
human. They don't want to lose their fingers. They don't want to lose their arms. They don't want to be sick, and they want to use the drugs. Okay, maybe they want to
No,
get high
I-
too,
I
but they
get
also
that
don't
they-
want to have hepatitis C. They don't want to have
No.
AIDS. They don't want that
But
shit.
they're not going
No,
to
I
march
get
100
that.
miles to do it either.
But you don't put them 100 miles away. You put them in the
That's
middle
what
of
I'm
it.
saying. Exactly.
No,
Yes.
I get all that, but the bottom line is the problem and goes back to the supply and demand issue. If I think I want to get a clean needle so I can do this heroin,
Mhm.
that's what I think I'm doing because I'm addicted to heroin. And then I shoot it up and it turns out I just shot up fentanyl.
Mhm.
I mean, the clean needle's not helping me. The
Yeah,
problem
but
isn't
maybe if
Good.
you shot up at a supervised consumption site, someone could give you Narcan.
Yeah, but how about we don't?
There's all
how about
this
we
like
fucking eliminate it.
well, see, it hasn't worked so far. How many fucking years have drugs been around?
Yeah. See, that's the problem is we invented these super painkillers enough to knock out an elephant.
And now we're in a point where we just want to say, no, we just need to eliminate. Well, we can't. We cannot control it. Why don't we just maybe stop trying to die right now?
Like Desiree said, people know how to make this shit now because it's already been invented. You know what I mean? Like it's
and to your point,
genie's out of the bottle.
To your point, Jack, there was a time in the Civil War, for instance, where
I remember that.
you're getting where you're getting your fucking leg sawed off and they put a belt in your mouth. And we have progressed to this. It feels like the pain, like the pain is still there. We're just finding new ways to capitalize. Because honestly,
no, you want to be able to treat pain, but this is
here's the deal. Here's the deal. In 1 month, I had my hernia taken care of, and I also had my molars taken out. Both very painful. And I took these meds, and maybe again, I think that I'm kind of my physical makeup is anti-addiction. Because I just threw the shit out, but now they're making shit because that's not addictive enough.
Well, how much did you take while you were in the hospital for that?
I was drinking bottles of vodka and taking Vicodin because it was fun, not because it was dealing with the pain. I'll be honest. But you know what? And then I said, you know what? This is not good. And I'm lucky because I have that.
You just didn't take them long enough to get physically dependent.
Oh, I was taking them for like 2 months.
That's not necessarily
All
what
right.
I
Well,
want.
either way,
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Good for you. You didn't
and I'm
get
not saying
addicted.
I'm
Some people aren't that
stronger.
lucky.
I'm not saying I'm strong.
Yeah, you got lucky. She's right.
Lucky. Absolutely. That I have the wherewithal to pour bottles of pills and all that down the drain because I was like, this is getting out of control.
Let me finish this before, because it's the last slide. So some other things we could do, it just within it, that aren't those like give the people places to use. So currently, opioid replacement therapy, that's like your methadone. Currently, methadone is very, 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 very restricted. Like you have to go to the clinic and get it sometimes multiple times a day. You can't, it's just very restricted. It feels dirty. It feels secretive. It feels like punishment.
Methadone
hard to get.
Suboxone.
No. Okay. Methadone is methadone.
Okay.
Buprenorphine is Suboxone.
Yeah, dude,
Okay.
let me just jump in. So when I lived in Baltimore, I lived about 2 blocks from a methadone clinic, and it was a huge stigma. Huge stigma.
Huge.
Enormously huge stigma. I mean, people were like, that's the methadone. And there'd be people lined up there, and it was like,
would you want to go to a methadone clinic?
No, I'm just saying, in our neighborhood, it was like, it was a
and they're
problem
always
area.
It's always like the back corner building.
Yes.
Like it's not. So
Yes.
and even then, methadone is like this. Suboxone's not regulated like this, even though it does the same similar thing. You can get a prescription for buprenorphine from your doctor. You can even get a prescription for whole ass methadone from your doctor, as long as they say it's for chronic pain and not opioid addiction.
Does methadone get you high?
No, none of these drugs get you high. Methadone doesn't get you high. Suboxone doesn't get you high. It just binds to the mu receptors and blocks. It makes you not sick without the high.
Okay.
So that was called opioid replacement therapy. If we started to maybe give people opioid replacement therapy in jail or in detox facilities, so when they get out, they don't immediately start using drugs, because that's a lot of the deaths right there is people going to jail, or they go to detox for some fucking reason the judge said for, and they get out of detox and they've been in there a month or 2 months, and they're going to go right back to their dealer and get a hit, but they're now have lowered their tolerance. So the first time they take a drug, they die.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is, though, I mean, anything like this requires a lot of times with just doing criminal defense, a lot of people that went to the methadone clinic, it was because it was a term and condition of their probation or their release. So they were ordered to do it. If you take someone who just wants to get clean and says, I'm an addict, and just on my own, I'm going to go get clean, then maybe that person will struggle through the stigmatism and do what he's supposed to do, like he's going to a doctor. But if you're somebody, let's say you're not that miraculous person with self-awareness who says, I need to go to the methadone clinic, or I need to get a prescription or something to do this. Zeus, as a psych nurse, you get these people that come in there.
What did you call me?
A psych nurse. No, you get people that will come in there, and maybe they're there for like a week, and you stabilize them and you get them on drugs that help them with their addiction, and then they leave, and then all of a sudden they're going right back to the drug that got them in the psych ward in the first place. So I mean, it's
part that breaks my heart.
Here, let's just say you have some for 14 days, Zeus. 14 days. So there's a drug called naltrexone, and it is it's an injectable, but you have to be clean for like 7 to sometimes up to 28 days, depending on what your addiction is.
Negative effects.
But it's really good because it curbs cravings. But you have to be off the drug for some. But I mean, if you've been in the hospital for 14 days and you can start somebody on this, and then they can go out into the world, and maybe if they do try to think that they can use drugs, they won't die.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to use the drugs
anymore. It's hard for me.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that?
Because we're selfish people.
Because we think it's feeding the problem, but it's not.
It's not. I've said it before, but my problems are bigger because they're my problems, and we forget that there are people that have less capability to deal with the problems that they have. I'm lucky. again, I said it earlier, I'm resilient. I take shit and I take shit and I take shit and I fucking survive. But not everybody has those capabilities. And that's what's so hard for me when I work on like the CATS unit, which for us is like an addiction unit, is like I want to just go, let's deal with the problem, not with the addiction. But you got to deal.
You have to deal with the addiction first.
Yes, you have to deal with the addiction
because if
first.
nothing, it's almost like, have you ever heard the saying, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters? If you can't stop being sick, nothing else fucking matters.
Exactly.
You
And I get
care.
that.
Well, guys, as far as a lot of these things that might help addicts, you know, when it comes to medicine, like anything else in our system, it comes down to money. And at the very some of these things, I mean, let's say we want to make it taxpayer money, right? So that means that the people and the politicians have to get behind this idea that more money that comes out of your pocket is going to go to helping people with these mental health and these addiction problems. And and the reason why we sort of coined the term lesser thans or undesirables, a lot of people just don't empathize maybe, or they just think, oh, I don't want my tax money going to that. Why don't, build more jails, build more jails or whatever, or this is a problem, let the charities handle it, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, money is money. There's a limit to how much money that the government's going to be able to spend on any particular problem.
So you gotta,
they're already taxing and spending the shit out of us on everything. So I don't know how more money gets directed to this stuff without it coming away from something else. And I'm okay with that, because there's a lot of wasteful spending. But somebody in power has to get behind this stuff, and then everybody else has to see the reason behind it. And I think there is a lot of stigmatism to, the quote unquote those people. And
so that's a great segue into.
Well, no, what I was gonna finish off with is maybe this fentanyl crisis and people dying that you wouldn't expect to die. Maybe that's gonna help this cause more, because maybe it's gonna open up people's minds to drug addiction in general is a problem of the entire society.
I'd love for that to be, but I just don't see it. We're a selfish world right now.
I think if this starts affecting more people in the suburbs, you're going to see a little more reaction than you do now.
So diacetylmorphine and hydromorphone programs. Diacetylmorphine is that's heroin. So that's medical grade. That's the medical name for heroin. These clinics, they have them in Vancouver, and it's kind of a strange twist to it. So what they do is they give people medical grade of heroin and dilaudid hydromorphone so they can shoot up. They have a scheduled time they need to be there, 3 times a day, 2 times a day, whatever. They have a certain dose, and they come in and they give them
survive, right?
It's very similar to like the methadone situation, where you're not using fucking street fentanyl that might be benzo dope. You're using safe drugs. You're using clean drugs.
Medically cleared, yeah.
So this costs $24,000 a year for one person to be dosed with whatever dose. That seems like a lot of money, but they've studied this over, I don't know how long of a period of time. I'm assuming it's fairly new, maybe 2 to 5 years, but it cuts down on theft. It cuts down on jail time. It cuts down on just crime in general. It cuts down the tax dollars that are going to that is now cut, because you don't have the people stealing for drug money or catching doing drug related crimes. You don't have any of that. The jails maybe aren't as crowded because you don't have cops arresting people for bullshit things or whatever, because they were stealing for their drug money. Whatever it is, you don't have that anymore. So that money it actually costs less money to dose somebody with diacetylmorphine every year than it does to have them be a junkie on the street.
And they're probably getting a clean high.
And it's clean. It's not this fentanyl bullshit. It's nothing like that. So that's my slideshow.
Desiree, that was fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, no, this has been a great episode, and there's a ton more we could talk about. Just to take it to he had to go. But just to take it to 11,
Sure.
on
to 11.
on the scale. I'm just saying, okay, so listen. Another topic we've talked about on the show is that human beings always take things to the max, right? So it's like looking forward, if you just zoom out like 100,000 square feet, it's like people used to smoke a little herb, or no, they would drink, they would smoke some herb, maybe they would like take some acid, maybe
Pop
they,
Molly, I'm sweating.
and now it's like freaking bananas, right? I mean, we're talking about things that are 100 times more than what you would get in the hospital, and
Wait
people
till
are
they
like, this
connect
isn't enough.
cyber technology with drugs. Wait till that connects.
That's where I'm going. Listen,
Yeah.
you get into the whole like Neuralink thing, and you get into augmented reality and AI, and we're just on the very beginning of that. You know, I mean, Zeus is going to bring the Oculus, you know, up. What I'm saying is, the issue is escapism. Like, in other words, there are people that feel pain, physical pain, that get addicted to or have been addicted to pain medications, but that is not what we're talking about. It seems like it is emotional. It is, I don't know. It's their existence. I mean, people, it
Or
is
self-medicating.
escapism. And we are in this thing, not to harken back to whatever it was, episode 28, where technology and biology are coming together. I mean, I'm saying we are creating a society that is going to be ripe to hop onto this augmented reality train.
You know,
and
really,
it scares the shit out of me.
it's really sad how we don't treat mental health, I mean, like we should.
I know.
Because it's the people that are you know, take out the people that were addicted to their pain pills because they got, you know, hurt and then prescription. Take out those people. Everybody else, 90% of those people are just trying to get through and numb something that hurts so bad.
Right, fill a void.
Couldn't be more factual. There is,
well, a lot of it's biochemical too. Like, I mean, what they like, in other words, that to some degree, some people do need medication, right? I mean,
Yeah,
whether it's antidepressants or whatever. But other people, the problem is a medical solution for just whatever your existential crisis is, whatever makes you unhappy, and you're unhappy, and the quick solution is something medical, period. Another thing we talked about on an episode was, what do we do with teenagers confused about their sexuality now? Oh, let's do this. Let's fuck with the hormones, because then you'll be happy. We're gonna feed that need rather than get to the root of the problem. That maybe takes a little longer, requires a therapist, requires talking.
And
that's gone out the window.
I think the problem with that, and you nailed it, Jack, is the people that are solving these problems didn't have these problems.
Not only that, there's a lot of cash in these solutions.
No. But let's just take it back a step and say that the person that's dealing with a patient with addiction may have never had addiction. The person that's creating the medication for the addiction is just looking at this synapse and this reaction. They never dealt with it, and yet they are the resident expert on it. Right. Like for me, when I work on the addiction unit, man, you got to be having fucking DTs before I start like really actively pursuing the medication that they want to give you when you're just complaining. Can I get one more?
Put that in the vault.
That's gonna be the intro.
Yeah, that's the intro. That's fantastic.
Like the logic is the
double Pyrrhino.
People that are solving the problems never had the fucking problems.
That might be part of the problem.
It's huge because, and although they may be altruistic, they may be kind, they may be wanting to help, they don't know.
They don't really get it
through the person's body, through their mind, through all that.
Right, they haven't lived it.
For example, you know, you even besides you, just Zeus, you being in psych, I mean, just the medical community that's outside of psych. I mean, you have your two different type of nurses. You have your nurses that are naive to drug use and just think that, oh, whatever, they're a drug user, they're never going to be able, they're a lost cause. And then you have the people like me who understand addiction and have compassion a little bit for it. I mean, but
she has a little compassion.
I mean, I'm not going to like kiss
Compassion,
their
yeah.
ass, but I mean, I
No,
understand how it
You
works and I
understand it.
understand the
Yeah.
mentality of it. And like this nurse over here like doesn't understand why this person is dying and their family won't come see him. Me, I fucking get it. They done burned their bridges.
Yeah,
Don't even
that's
think
right.
don't even try to call their mom honey because they don't care.
They don't care.
Right.
And
I
they
think
might
there's
care, but they
also-
just don't want to
know
care.
what?
They can't anymore.
And an interesting aside to what you said is HIPAA actually like propels that, because like now, if a patient doesn't want to talk to their mom because their mom doesn't want them on heroin, then you can't even acknowledge that they're on the fucking unit. Like there's all these systems in play. I've said it before, I'll say it again, but there's such a choreography vibe to so many of these things, especially what we're talking about tonight versus conspiracy. I think we're being managed well. Honestly, I get a patient on the unit and they're not like going through DTs. I'm not usually gonna hook them up with the
Wait.
But
You
the thing
should
is,
though.
Zeus,
You
most of
absolutely
the
should, because
but-
you should start giving them you should start giving them Ativan as soon as they have tactile like things.
but
We really should.
No. They never do on my unit, but I'm acute. So the other one's good. They
Go
go
ahead,
to the
Mike.
addiction unit.
So listen,
And-
anyone that's dealt or lost someone due to addiction has a whole different viewpoint on this than
They do.
the
And who has
general
lived it
public.
Yeah, they
firsthand.
do.
They really do. And it's
And
Absolutely.
Des and I have
And-
talked about it enough. We are definitely of that ilk where we're like, you know what? You got to fucking man up.
Yeah,
But-
I think. Go ahead, Mike.
No, but my point is, like, the people that are making it to Desiree and Zeus are the minority. There are a lot of people out there. You know, I had a loved one that died due to a lot of issues and whatever, but you know, it's not they.
Is this
they
the one that I
didn't
know of?
seek- yeah,
Okay.
they didn't seek a lot of help. You know, I mean, the people that end up in a hospital are the minority, in my opinion.
Well, they're
No,
the
Mike,
insured.
Mike,
They're
you're
not
right.
the less thans.
No,
And by less
no.
than, I mean
No, Mike, you're right, because a lot of the people that end up in that unit, one, the family either made them. So in
Or
other
the
words,
judge did.
the bridges hadn't been burned yet,
Yeah,
or it's some kind of or the cops got involved because something was happening and the cops found this person high as a kite or whatever, a homeless person making a big of enough ruckus at the local Starbucks where the cops have to come and
Yeah.
the person says he's Napoleon or whatever, and they bring him over there. A lot of people that suffer with these addiction problems, you're right. It's like a quiet illness.
the low-key thing.
They don't want the world to know about it, and the depression builds up and the anxiety
Mhm.
builds up and the high's never enough, or they try to quit on their own or whatever. Or the
Yeah.
body, or they just keep doing what they're doing, and eventually the body says no mas,
And
they go out. And so many people have lost somebody to addiction that you would think the empathy would be higher. But I think people still, when they hear street drugs, when they hear heroin, and even like crack, like there was this like idea that a lot of Americans didn't care about the crack epidemic. A lot of Americans did not. They did
Right.
not care about it because
they never
thought
saw it.
right. They said, "Oh, that's something
It's
that
over
happens on
there."
the street. It's
Yeah.
over there."
yeah,
Right.
less
And-
than.
Right. But the bottom line is we know just from our personal lives, our personal stories, addiction is very real and it kills people.
I think
100%.
everybody
And addiction isn't necessarily something you did on purpose.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
Correct.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just
No, and-
you're at the point to where your body needs it. I mean, it can happen anything. I mean,
Yeah.
the housewife that drinks 2 glasses of Franzia a night, after she'd been doing that for that long, we've had somebody come in just like that and VT'd. Yep, we have.
What's
And that's not that
VT?
much. That's the
Yeah.
deadly alcohol withdrawal seizures. 2 glasses of
Wow.
wine a night, Franzia, for 5 years.
Everybody that's still on the show right now, we've all had some connection with addiction and
Sure.
loss with
Mhm.
addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can go out on a limb, Jack, I loved your dad, but clearly,
well,
he was a great fucking guy.
Yeah, I didn't want to step on your toes and Desiree's toes, but yeah, my dad drank himself. It was pure booze. It was alcohol.
The nicest guy.
Yeah.
And
no,
and
that's all right.
but I could but while I was there, when this is when you lived in
Jersey,
Hollywood? No, Hollywood.
Okay.
Florida?
He had a beer, he had a can of beer in his hand at all times. And my dad the same, man. My dad the same. It's heartbreaking, and I feel lucky that I don't have whatever that takes. And dude, I'm 52. I should have another 30 years ahead of me. But who knows, man? Something goes wrong. I get into a car accident. My humerus is sticking out of my fucking shoulder.
Well, that's just it. It's also luck of the draw, because like you always hear about that old grandmother who smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day for her whole life, and she died when she was 98 of natural causes, right? You also have,
and her 40-year-old daughter dies of fucking lung cancer.
Right.
Yeah, and never smoked a day in her life.
And you have that kind of addiction spectrum with probably anything. Like, let's say alcohol. My dad was dead at 54 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
Such a nice guy.
No, but a lot of people will drink their whole lives, and their body puts up with it, and they don't ever quit, and they don't die from it. I mean, but the problem with this fentanyl issue is that it makes every drug you do completely poison. I mean,
it's like 1,000 times stronger than anything that we've seen in the last 100 years.
Yeah, so I think this is going to change the game if it keeps going at this rate. I mean, it's got to bring more awareness to it, because it's going to affect everybody. Because we all know somebody who does recreational drugs.
You know what? I hope Elon Musk never gets addicted to fentanyl, because we're fucked.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with this. So how you said it was really expensive, Jack, to like, do these programs and outreach and spend money to help people with mental health issues. I mean, those all cost money, right?
Well, hospitals cost a lot of money. Medical
things cost money. It costs a lot of money.
Do they really?
How much do we spend on COVID?
Oh, how much? No, period. How much do we spend on the Ukraine? I mean, we can get into
how much
everything.
Do we spend on things that don't
that don't matter?
I don't want to say don't matter, but like
they matter, right?
We have the money,
and we can fix the world.
But like, why can't we finally open our eyes to maybe help ourselves first before helping anyone else?
Right.
Absolutely.
Desiree, I totally agree, and I think when it comes.
Great episode.
Yeah, this was awesome.
I hope it gets more views than any of the other episodes that we've done, because you fucking crushed it.
No, this was great. This was great. I mean,
okay, so here's my conspiracy, because I was talking to Mike about it earlier, and we gotta have some catches to the show. And so
China's poisoning us on purpose.
Well, no. You'll like this. I think you'll like this. So my conspiracy that can come from this, and I hope this is not a prediction, but what if fentanyl got into a major
water?
How you complete my sentences?
I don't know if it would.
What if
like Oreos?
No, but what if it got into a major waterway and fucking just killed like fucking 600,000 people that just got up?
I don't know. What if I spilled my bag of fentanyl in the water supply? I mean,
I mean, it's something to consider. I mean, we don't know.
I don't know if we should be giving anybody any ideas.
I think if we can think it up, they've already thought of it.
No, I know.
But Jack, I think you should say the words. I think
it's definitely we've definitely
the holy words.
Yes, we've been on for a while now, guys. I think maybe 2 hours. So it's definitely time we wrap things up. Desiree, thank you.
Thank you, Desiree.
This is
a great one.
We'll see y'all next week. Bye.